Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today Oliver is joining us. Say hi, buddy. Okay, so as you probably guessed from the title of this video, I wanted to do a little story time video, just kind of talking about how we ended up getting Oliver, how he joined our family, and yeah, and I also wanted to say happy birthday, buddy, because he had a birthday. We probably had a birthday a while ago, but we ended up getting him just before Thanksgiving last year, and he was 2 months old already, so his birthday would have been in September. But yeah, we've had him officially for a year as of a couple weeks ago. So, hey buddy. He doesn't look very happy, but he's purring. Dog keeps trying to jump up and bite his tail. Do you want to hang out on the table? Would that make you happier? He's confused because he never gets to hang out on the table, and now he's like, oh, what do I do? Anyways, Oliver, how we ended up getting him. A lady who worked at one of the factories here in town had found this little kitten, which was Oliver, at the factory, and he was very skinny, very scared. She couldn't get him to come to her at all. I think she said it was like a week or two that she kept putting food out for him and trying to get him to come to her and just trying to catch him in general, and nothing was working, and the poor thing was just covered in mats. As you can see, he is, whoa, he's got some fur on him. He is definitely like a medium length furred cat. I don't think he's quite like long fur, but definitely medium to say the least. And the poor thing was just covered in grease from the factory and had mats all over him and was very malnourished. So the guys who worked the night shift actually ended up catching him and put him in a box, and he was in this box for a long time. Like, I don't remember how long she said he was in the box, but it was like well over 8 hours that he was in this box. And one of the guys, I forget how they ended up being able to catch him, but pretty much he was just so weak and tired that it wasn't that hard to get a hold of him. And they put a little bit of food in there with him, and they like threw like this towel in with him and put him in the shoebox. And then when she got to work that afternoon, so he'd been in the box like all night, all morning. So probably close to 14, 15 hours is my guess. He'd been in there for a long time. But when she got into work that morning, she made a Facebook post saying, hey, I found this kitten. I can't keep him, but I'd really like him to go to a good home. And at the time, we had Banjo and Lolly. And I can remember seeing the post and seeing his picture and thinking, oh my God, Mike's gonna kill me. But I put on there, I was like, I can get him right now. I saw his little picture and it broke my heart because he was so covered in oil and so nasty looking. I'll insert the picture here. So as you can see, he was a hot little mess. And so I took off to go get him, and then I got him and I sent Mike a picture, and I was like, you're gonna kill me. But I got a kitten. Molly, she's not growling. But, which Mike ended up not being too upset. I mean, he's seen what kind of condition he was in. He knows what kind of heart I have. So, we ended up bringing him back. Well, I ended up bringing him back. He was so tiny, and Lolly hated him right off the bat, which we don't have her anymore. That's one other story. But Lolly hated him right off the bat, and Banjo went between wanting to play with him and wanting to wring his neck. Keep in mind, Banjo and Lolly at this time were probably 8 months old, maybe 6. So they were considerably bigger than he was, and he was so tiny, he was so like underweight. So unless I had him out and I was playing with him, I had to keep him in a carrier by himself because the other cats were too big to play with him, and there was no way he could get away and be like safe, and I was afraid that they would like wring his neck and kill him. So he slept in a little box next to my side of the bed, and then he had like a little litter box, and he was so tiny he couldn't get into like a regular size litter box, so I had to take like a cardboard box and cut it open so like it had 3 walls and then like an open flat side that he could just walk into so he could go do his business. He ate food just fine. That was one thing I was worried about, was I was worried he would need milk. But he showed no interest in milk, even though I went and bought like the canned kitten formula that you can like bottle feed cats with. He showed like no interest in that, but soft cat food, he was all about it. And I gave him so much soft cat food, trying to fatten him up. And I ended up giving some to Banjo as well, because Banjo would get so jealous. And Banjo got pretty fat from that, for like, that's kind of why he has a gut, is because he had so much soft cat food. I swear that's what the reason is. But had to do it for Oliver to like put some weight on him. Like I mentioned, he was so covered in oil, and I gave him several baths when I got him home. Poor thing. Just to add insult to injury, he went from being in a box for like hours on end to a car ride with some random person to a house with 2 cats that wanted to kill him and a dog who wanted to mother him and lick him, and then gets thrown in the bathtub. But he was so covered in grease and motor oil, and he had fleas, and I couldn't just let him down to like hang out with everybody with the condition he was in, so he had to get a bath. I got out as much of the oil as I could. It took like 2 or 3 baths to get everything out of him. He was so nasty. And yeah, then like a few days later after getting him, we'd only had him a couple of days, and we were planning on taking him to the vet within a week or so. We just hadn't had time to make the appointments. We had Thanksgiving coming up, all that jazz. So and this was before I started training for dog grooming. I really had no idea what I was doing to get mats out of an animal's fur, and I didn't know that cat skin is so easy to rip and tear. I was completely unaware of this. But he had so many mats, and I could tell he was uncomfortable from them, and I thought, well, you know, I'll just try and cut some of them out. And with cats, it's very imperative that if you ever try to get mats out of their fur, you need to use like a size 10 blade, and you shave them out. Do not use scissors. That's not a good idea. You're going to hurt the cat, which is what ended up happening with Oliver. Poor thing. He had mats everywhere, and I was trying to scissor a mat out of the top of his head, and it was so tight to the skin, like I was having a hard time telling where the skin was and where the mat was. And I ended up snipping his skin on the top of his head, probably about the length of my first little joint here in my finger, and you could actually see his skull. Like, and I don't know, like, if you've had any kind of like anatomy classes or anything like that, you know that like you have your skull, and then like there's this like layer of clear tissue. Like, that's what I was seeing. But like the skin itself, like, it was just cut, like you could see it, and I felt so horrible for him. He kind of screamed, which I don't blame him. I don't know how else to describe that sound, but it was pretty blood curdling. It didn't bleed very badly, which I found surprising, was very thankful for. But I freaked out. I called Mike at work. I told him what was going on. I was like, I gotta get the kitten to the vet because I just like sliced his head open. So I called and made an appointment with the emergency animal hospital here in town and got him in like probably within 5 to 10 minutes of cutting him. He was at the vet. And the vet took him, and they explained to me like, oh, you know, you're not supposed to take mats out with scissors because you can cut their skin, yada yada, everything I didn't know. And they're like, you know, we understand you're just trying to help your animal. So they went ahead and took him back, and they gave him the stitches, and they put him to sleep, and they shaved him down for the most part. It wasn't like a really good clean shave. It was like they just shaved out the mats. So he looked pretty rough. And if I can find a photo of that, I'll insert it here at the end of the video. But yeah, he looked pretty rough there for a little while. But when we were there, we found out that he was underweight. He was 2 months old, so it should be 1 pound a month that they weigh, but he was like 0.5 pounds or just 1 pound. He was pretty malnourished and pretty underweight. But they said that otherwise he's healthy and good, and like they got him all checked out for everything. So the biggest goal for him was just to put on weight. So that's what we did. We worked on. Now he's a little chunker. He's got massive paws. I really think that if he hadn't been so malnourished and underweight just starting out, that he would have been like Banjo size. And Banjo's a really tall cat, and he's 15 pounds. And though he's got a bit of a gut on him, the vet said it's primarily muscle and he's in good shape. And I think that's how Oliver would have been, because Oliver has like huge paws. Yeah. Sorry, trying to get myself back on track. So, got him back from the vet. Poor little thing had stitches. He thankfully didn't hold a grudge against me, and everything healed really well. I'm not aware if he has a scar or anything like that on his head, but you know, the stitches came out okay, and fur grows there. Like, there's no sign to tell that I ever cut his fur, cut his skin. And then a few months later, I ended up getting an apprenticeship at a grooming salon, and I had to learn how to groom cats. And so I brought Oliver in because he was so choppy from what the vet had done, and he was my guinea pig. He's what I learned how to shave on. And I did keep him short for a while. I kept him completely shaved. We always joked around that he looked like Richard Simmons, Richard Simmons, for those of you who don't know, was like a workout type guru from like the 90s, and he always wore leg warmers, which is kind of how Oliver looked when he was completely shaved down. But like, I wouldn't shave his legs because that's like really hard to do on a cat, and so he kind of looked like he was wearing leg warmers, so we'd make fun of him. But otherwise, yeah, he's been a really good cat for us. I'm really surprised that he has tamed down as well as he has. He's great with Mike and I. He's so good with us. He likes to lay on our laps. He purrs all the time. He loves to come in the bedroom and just snuggle with us. He's a great pet. As for strangers, he is rather skittish and will run off and hide. If somebody random come over to my house, like, it's unlikely you're even going to know we have him because he's so skittish. He doesn't even want to go outside. Like, Banjo ended up nudging the back door open over the summer, and he got out, and we had to go looking for him. When I got home, like, the back door was wide open, and Oliver was just laying on the back porch sunning himself. Like, door wide open, he could have took off. No. Didn't want to step foot outside. He just decided to lay there and enjoy the sun and stay in the house where it was safe. So, I guess he knows what it is to be a wild cat, and he rather likes the indoors where there's air conditioning and blankets to lay on and beds to sleep on and food, lots of food. But yeah, that's how we ended up getting Oliver. That's Oliver's story, how he ended up coming to be with us. We absolutely adore him. He's a sweet little kitty cat. Came up with the name Oliver just, you know, from the Disney movie Oliver and Company. He was an orange kitten. Yeah, it wasn't very creative of me, but I think it fits him. It did take him a surprisingly long amount of time, in my opinion, to learn his name. Banjo picked up on his name pretty quickly. Within like a month or so of having him, he knew his name. Oliver is a year old now, and I'd say it's just been within the last 2 months that he's figured out that Oliver is his name. So, it took him a while, but he finally knows it. He doesn't really come to it when you call. I mean, well, he came to me when we were in the basement the other day. I called him a couple times and he came to me. So, it's kind of like when he feels like it, he'll come to me. Banjo's like, he's on it. When I call Banjo, he's like, on it. Oliver's kind of like, if I feel like it, I will. So, yeah, that kind of wraps up everything. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this little story time. I will insert some clips here at the end of Oliver as a little kitten. I love one photo of him. He's just like, he used to sit, and he makes me think of Yoda because he had such big ears to grow into. But anytime the water bowl would go empty, he would sit in the water bowl and scream until you came to fill it up. He doesn't do that anymore, but he did that when he was a kitten, and it was so funny. Like, I always knew when the water bowl went empty because Oliver would be sitting in there screaming. So funny. But yeah, I'll just insert some photos of him growing up and being a little kitten. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you've not already. And leave me some comments down below. I love hearing from you guys. Let me know if you want to hear how we ended up with Molly and Banjo. I can definitely do a story time on both of those. But otherwise, I think that'll finish things up for today. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.